Ruffy's Rants.
Hola, you amazing artists, and welcome to the studio. So sometimes I get questions that I'm not really sure how to answer because, like, you know, across the board, there's no across the board answer for a lot of these things. A lot of these questions are personal to you as an artist, and it's stuff that we have not really answered in videos, but we're going to answer them in this video as best we can.
Yeah, because screw it. Why not?
Why not? So a lot of times we'll get questions that just, I'm like, how am I supposed to answer this? And this question we've gotten a few times, and it's, what kind of materials should I use in my artwork? You should use whatever effing materials you want in your artwork. And I think that this question comes from the whole like fear of like the different mediums and the status of the different mediums. Oil is like the medium that the masters use, and that's what's supposed to be whatever, and acrylics are less than, right? So this is a weird perception that people have out there of like this material being much more status oriented than this material. But little by little over the years, you start to use them differently. You start to see how they behave. You know, oils is not a thing that you compare with acrylic. They're two totally different mediums, right? So oil has its practical use, and then acrylic has its practical use, watercolor has its practical use. So it's not the materials, it's what you're working on or what you like working with, really. When you talk to an artist that is doing this for a living, they're going to use the materials that the piece needs in order to make it the way that they want it to. Oils are very forgiving, they're great to use, they are a pain in the ass to clean, and so a lot of times there's a limitation to how much I use oil paints in my stuff, because I mean, if I clean my brushes, that's like a big deal.
I tend not to use oils because I wouldn't get very far as a jeweler if I was using oils here at the bench. And what I'm illustrating here is that way of thinking also completely alienates like 99% of the types of visual art.
Exactly, because I mean, there's watercolor, there's illustrations, there's like all kinds of like art mediums.
And wood and sound.
Yeah, there's all kinds of stuff. So like to sit there and be like, what kind of material should I use in order to be taken seriously as an artist? And I'm like, whatever materials you want to use. I think one of the most important things to me when it comes to materials is the source. Like, where do I get my materials from? And, you know, for example, like a lot of my acrylics, I'll use U-Track. Some of my acrylic mediums, I like experimenting. Like I've used the Golden open acrylics because they take a little bit longer to dry. They get a little bit sticky though. Oils, I use Gamblin. When I use pigments, I buy Gamblin pigments from Blick. I trust Blick. I've worked with Blick for years, and I love them. So they're great. Their customer service is amazing, and I'm not sponsored, so this isn't like, I'm not like, oh, I get paid for this. When I do use house paints for projects, I just pick up Behr paint. Just use what you have. Use what's available to you. Buy materials, test them out, see how they're gonna work. If anyone comes out of the woodwork and is like, well, real artists, blah, 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 and real artists, blah, blah. Let me tell you right now, what people consider real artists throughout history, they've used house paints, they've used acrylics, they've used oils, they've used inks, they've used all the materials that are out there, because guess what? Artists are going to use the materials that are available to them that they want to use. None of them is like, oh, this artist is better because they use this materials, or this artist is better because they use this materials. Like, that kind of thinking is just asinine. I use whatever materials is going to help me accomplish the look that I want to accomplish, the feel that I want to accomplish when it comes to the piece. So really, what kind of material should you be using? What do you want to use? A lot of it is like getting stuff at the source. So for example, for my hanging material, I use Super Soft Strand, and I just buy that right from the Super Soft Strand website. Clear bags is where I get my clear bags. This is from years of me buying different materials and experimenting. You know, I don't buy paint at Walmart. It just, the quality of the paints is horrible. This is one of those things that is always like a hot topic, right? Because like people get really upset, really mad when it comes to like the materials they use, the standards that you use. I think when I started my art career, I'd seen a video and they were like, well, real artists don't use staples on the back of their canvas. They use tacks because that's how the old masters used to do it. They didn't have a staple gun, so they used tacks. If the old masters had a staple gun, I guarantee you that they'd be using a staple gun instead of hammering in every fucking tack. And I know that there's people out there that are like purist and stuff like that. And because the old masters did it the way that they did, that's what real art is. And I'm like, listen, when it comes down to it, all the materials that we have, which is amazing as an artist, that we have gouache and always
Gouache, I've used that.
yeah, like all kinds of stuff like that. I know we're gonna get the comments. We're gonna get the comments where it's not pronounced gouache.
If we're going by those historical standards, then the old masters got it wrong too, because the first works of art were done on stone with people's hands.
You're gonna paint the Mona Lisa, Leonardo? It should have been with a rock.
On a rock.
On a rock. With a rock, with crushed bugs for pigment. At the end of the day, what I want to say in this video is like, listen, it's up to you. It really is up to you. This is your journey. This is your journey as an artist, and you get to decide what kind of materials you're going to use, what you're going to, what the quality of the materials is. It's something that I've explored a lot with different materials, because you have a higher quality acrylic or a higher quality and a lower grade and student grade and this kind of grade. When you come into my studio, you're going to find like all kinds, you're going to find craft paints, you're going to find high-end, like professional grade paints. You're going to find it all. You're going to find house paints. You're going to find everything in here because everything has its use. And so when I do use my oils, there is a specific way that I use that, or a specific way that I experiment with it. When I use my acrylics, when I use house paints, when I use any kind of paint, there is a specific way that it's going to perform for me, and that's something that I keep in mind. If somebody came to me and they were like, well, you shouldn't use that kind of paint because that's not what professional artists do, I'd be like, eat a bag. That's basically where I'm at. If they say, no, don't use that kind of, just tell them to go eat a bag.
The most important material you're working with is your ideas.
Oh, that is good.
Yeah.
And yeah, hopefully you guys found that helpful when it comes to materials. When it comes to stuff like this, I'm like, yeah, you guys, just use what you want to use. Be safe and all that stuff. Have proper ventilation for certain materials and stuff like that. Learn about the materials. The only way to really learn how to use things and play around with things and experiment is to allow yourself to just do what you're going to do. Don't let some guideline or some other person tell you which materials you should use and which you shouldn't. And I want to give a big shout out to the Rogue Artist community. Thank you guys so much. It's you that makes these videos possible. You guys are amazing. And for everybody watching this, you guys are absolutely freaking amazing. I totally adore you. And if you like this and you want to watch more like this, just go ahead and click right over here to subscribe. And that's it. You want to say goodbye, Clee?
Good day.
Adios.